We'll work on histograms for our pump shaft measured data, and to do that we'll start by creating a filter to drill down to just the components that we're interested in. For starters, we'll look at pump shaft B. We're also going to look at C, D, E, and F here shortly. So we'll start with that. We'll keep all of our data in for all the sections right now, and so we can go ahead and do insert and chart. Now when we do that, it's not really going to know what data we're trying to chart, and so it's going to take a guess at which data we want. So the best thing to do is come over here to the data range and change that data range to the column we're interested in, J, and then to change the chart type to histogram. Now this is Google Sheets, and so it generates a histogram of our measured values with some default settings. To customize it, we can, for example, change the title. So for example, chart title, we can just call it histogram, and subtitle we'll call pump shaft OB, and for the horizontal title we'll call that measurement in millimeters, and for the vertical we'll just call that count. Okay, so there we have a histogram. Now there's some ways to tweak and customize the histogram. One key thing is the number of intervals. They call it bucket sizes, and so there's an auto mode, and then you can see that the number of different buckets or bins that you choose really changes the look of the distribution. And what we're really trying to do is see, is there a central tendency? And we can see that the values are close to 19 to 21. Probably 21 is the most common value in there. There is some bell-like structure, some central normal curve here, and there are some outliers that are evident. We could use some outlier detection, and using Google Sheets algorithm, if we set that to 1%, based on whatever the algorithm is doing, this is the type of histogram that we generate. And so that's helpful. That is Google Sheets, and we could do the same thing for the other components just by filtering in on different data. So for example here, we wanted to switch off that and go back down to pump shaft C, and then same kind of thing, we can go ahead and do, this time we'll just select that data, we'll insert a chart, it'll default to histogram, and now we see the central value is somewhere between 15 and 17, and we see some little trailing possible outliers out here. So that's how to use Google Sheets for making these histograms. And so we'll jump to some other applications instead of just Google Sheets to give an idea for some of the other tools. One is Python. So a lot of data analysis these days is done in Python. This is a Jupyter notebook, and I've imported Matplotlib library for doing histogram plotting, as well as NumPy and Pandas. Pandas allows us to read the data in. This is a CSV file, and so reading the data in from a flat file, we can then run a histogram function on that as well, and show a similar kind of histogram in Python using Matplotlib. We can make sure we're looking at just one section, so this is section 10. We can also look at just a different number of bins for just section 10 right here. So we can tweak histograms a little bit and get different look and feel with different programs. Matplotlib is the library we're using here, and the hist function. Python also has another nice visualization package called Seaborn, and Seaborn has histplot that's functional. MATLAB is also a common analysis tool pack that engineers use, and you can use a histogram function as well. In R is another language that's used for statistical analysis. This one is using Plotly, but there's also a native histogram function in R as well. Minitab is an Excel-like product that also has some histogram functionality. And here's some other examples of this is actually ggplot which is grammar of graphics in tidyverse, and this is an R representation of how to build plots with ggplot, which is a more generic way of looking at how you visualize information. And Excel is another tool for plotting and getting histograms out of. There's a default Excel chart that's a histogram, and then there's also a data analysis toolpack that has a nice histogram feature as well. So with that, we can finish out the other pump shaft histogram measurements, and we'll be done with this statistical analysis task.